breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is Robbie Rosenhaus, does a great job pulling all of our clips, getting us on the air, getting all those audio highlights from that terrific Lions win the other day, and heading into a big matchup with the Baltimore Ravens, who started the season, Robbie, 1-5, but they've won 2 straight, and they're feeling pretty good about themselves coming to town, and in big part because they were two-time MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson returned last week against Miami and threw for 204, 4 touchdowns, AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and Lamar is a very confident player heading to Minnesota. He's one of the best NFL QBs against the blitz, which we know the Vikings bring as much as anybody in the league. So it sets up as a really interesting matchup with a Baltimore team that is now 3-5, Vikings 4-4. Both teams need wins here in midseason to stay in their division races. Baltimore 2 games back of Pittsburgh, but the Steelers head to LA to play the Chargers on Sunday night. And the Ravens are figuring, hey, if we can win over the Vikings and the Steelers get beat out west, they'll be 1 game behind. And they have still 2 games ahead in weeks 14 and 18 against Pittsburgh. So Baltimore is probably still going to be in that AFC North hunt. The Vikings can deal them a setback this week, but they're going to have to play a really, really strong game as they did in Detroit. The defense is going to have to show up. They're going to have to contain Lamar Jackson better than they did Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. Goff was more of a statue back there. They sacked him 5 times. Not going to be as easy against Lamar.
And I think an overlooked aspect of everything that went on last week, and it's something that we talked about the previous week because I wasn't with you on Monday, was special teams play. And the fact that they had 2 huge penalties on big kickoff returns 2 weeks ago, but then this past week he breaks free and there's no flags. And I was waiting, especially on that early one, to see a flag on the field. And when there wasn't, I'm sure both of us, as well as the Viking fan base, was pleasantly surprised. So I just associate great special teams always with that coach and that team, the Ravens. I know they don't have Justin Tucker anymore, but their rookie kicker is pretty good, and they seem to always have a good return game. So special teams is something that I'd look hopefully to carry over from last week, the momentum of those good returns and good coverage, and really have an imprint on this game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's going to be a big factor. John Harbaugh started his career as a special teams coach under Andy Reid in Philadelphia. And the Ravens always are among the best in the league on special teams. And you mentioned Miles Price's 61-yard kickoff return to open the game, or the Vikings' first possession against Detroit, which set up the short field for McCarthy's great touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson's one-handed catch. That short field helped. And then, of course, there was a penalty on Tavier Thomas on a 99-yard kickoff return that was called back for a hold. That was unfortunate. And Tavier had another penalty on special teams when he ran out of bounds as a gunner and didn't get back quick enough. So he's got to clean up his special teams play. He's been one of the better special teams guys for the Vikings. But you're right, special teams are going to be a key. And we know certainly containing Lamar Jackson is going to be a key. And the continued progression of J.J. McCarthy, who had his great moments in the Lions game, of course, with the terrific touchdown pass to Jefferson, some big completions to Addison, and then the 3rd and 5 nail in the coffin to the Lions on the pass to Jalen Naylor at the end of the game. But JJ also still has to improve his accuracy. Completed 56% last week. For the year, he's 57.6%. That's not good enough in this league when the top quarterbacks, such as Lamar Jackson, are 70% plus. Jackson's at 72.9, and he ranks 3rd in the league. Drake May, JJ's classmate in the 2024 draft, leads the league at 74.1%. Really impressive. So that's something Kevin O'Connell is certainly working on with his young quarterback, trying to improve that completion percentage, be more accurate. The interception he threw in the game was a little bit behind Jalen Naylor. Perhaps Naylor could have made the catch on his hit, but a tough play. But McCarthy has to be better against a Baltimore team that has been suspect in pass defense. They rank 28th, but they've been better the last few weeks. They've gotten some guys back that were hurt. They're really similar, Robbie, to the Vikings in the fact that so many injuries early in the year. Jackson missed 3 games, and they went 1-2 in those games. Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, their 2 best defensive players, missed time. Matabike, their best defensive player, is out for the year with an injury up front, the defensive tackle. But the Ravens have been better against the run the last few weeks, and that's going to be another key this week, how well the Vikings can run the ball. And will Aaron Jones play? He missed practice on Wednesday. He had a big game against Detroit in that first half before he hurt his shoulder. But let's go to a few of our audio highlights and kind of zero in here on Lamar and the Ravens, and also first look back at one big play last week. And Levi Drake Rodriguez was named NFC Special Teams Player of the Week for his play, which on defense, he was really good. 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 tackles, and only 11 defensive snaps and a sack. But here was the play he got the Special Teams Player of the Week for, the blocked field goal. And again, you're talking about special teams.
Kick is blocked. It is picked up by Minnesota, too. It looks like Isaiah Rodgers, who already has 2 touchdowns on defense on the year, picks it up. Big return in Minnesota. What a play.
And as you eloquently said, it's all phases of special teams. It's when the Vikings are going to try and score points or when they're going to try and cover something. And right there, you saw a prime example of how that could change the momentum in a game and give it back to one team. And Levi Drake Rodriguez came up huge in that moment.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And that was a huge play in the game. The Lions were down 7 and lining up for a field goal to put them within 4. Instead, the Vikings get the ball and it set up the last field goal by Will Reichard to get the 10-point lead. So that was a huge play in the game. I'm still amazed that Isaiah Rodgers was caught on the angle by the holder and punter, Fox from Detroit. But maybe next time Isaiah will think about maybe cutting back a little bit, making a move on the punter, because he just kind of ran him right out of bounds. But regardless, it was a huge play in the game. Now looking at the Ravens and looking back at their Week 9 win in Miami, very impressive, 28-6 dominant performance. And Lamar Jackson, as I said, threw for 204 in that game, 4 touchdowns, Offensive Player of the Week. He was very successful throwing to his tight ends in the game, 3 touchdown passes to the tight ends. And overall, they caught 7 balls for 105 yards. It's going to be another key for the Vikings defensively, not only to be able to rush Lamar and contain him, keep him from getting outside as Jalen Hurts did or as Herbert did, and having Andrew Van Ginkel back makes a huge difference there. We saw that against Detroit, but Goff is different from Jackson. Jackson is probably the most mobile quarterback in the league when he wants to run. He didn't run much against Miami. He didn't have to. But he said this week, if he has to run, he's ready to against that Vikings blitz. And he's been great against the blitz this year. We know that. But here last week, Mark Andrews, tight end, had 2 touchdown catches in the game. And here was a 20-yard grab in the second for his second TD.
Pass is caught by Andrews for another touchdown.
So
that
you
was
saw
Al Michaels on Prime on that call. Also in the game, same game, Lamar Jackson finds Rashad Bateman, the ex-Gopher, for a 9-yard touchdown pass.
Off the fake, deep drop, looks around, fires over the middle, touchdown, Rashad Bateman.
The Ravens bring 3 dangerous receivers. Zay Flowers is their leader, 46 catches, 550 yards. But Bateman is also a threat. And DeAndre Hopkins at kind of the tail end of his career, but he's still the third receiver and he knows how to get open too. So big challenge for the Vikings secondary if that pass rush can't get home and contain Jackson. Now he's taken some sacks this year, but that's going to be a big challenge. Van Ginkel, Grenard, they have to contain him and then get the help inside from guys like Javon Hargrave had his best game of the year last week. Jonathan Allen had 3 quarterback hits. Jalen Redmond is the Vikings' leading sacker as a defensive tackle, and Drake Rodriguez had a big game. So up front is going to be very key. The Ravens always a physical team. Again, talk about physical play, and probably the most physical running back in the league is Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry coming off a 119-yard rushing game against Miami, 629 yards, 6 TDs this season, had over 1,900 yards last year. He's 31 years old and he's still rolling. And we know that the Ravens want to get that running game going against the Vikings defense that has been up and down against the run. They were great against Detroit last week, which was really impressive against Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They're going to have to do the same kind of performance against Baltimore this week. So here's Derrick Henry on a long run against Miami.
3 shy of that right now, giving it to Henry. Henry around the corner. Henry off to the races. Henry gets tackled at about the...
That was a 35-yard gain on that play. Kyle Hamilton, he's an all-pro safety, kind of a painful player for Vikings fans because he's a guy that the Vikings passed in the 2022 draft. They had a shot at him. I think they had the 12th overall pick that year, traded out of that spot, passed on him, also passed on McDuffie of Kansas City. Both those guys, all pro players in the secondary. Kyle Hamilton would look great in purple, in Vikings purple instead of Ravens purple today, but he's in Baltimore and he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. It's been interesting. They made a trade for Gilman at safety, and what they've done since then, and Kevin O'Connell talked about this week, they've moved Hamilton up to more of a slot corner position and also playing on the line of scrimmage a lot. He's made a lot of run stops, which has helped the Ravens' run defense. That's been a lot better. Also, of course, getting Roquan Smith back made a big difference too. Kyle Hamilton, here's a little clip from that Miami game on a tackle for loss.
Wow. Do you think that Hamilton makes his presence felt right away, which he has done so often through his stellar career?
Let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. GMC trucks weren't built overnight like every American achievement. They are a result of dedication, a dedication to mastering the art of design and the science of engineering, to building upon prior knowledge year after year, decade after decade. GMC, over 100 years, dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade, well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 crew cab models with a 5.3-liter engine with an average finance savings of $4,962. See your local GMC dealer today. Only on 5.3-liter V8 engine for purchase allowance. Length of contract limited, must finance with GM Financial. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on bank rate of 5.64%. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/1/25. Kevin O'Connell, he understands the importance of this game and always the challenge of bouncing off back from an emotional win that they had in Detroit and then facing a team in Baltimore. On first glance, you say, oh, they're 3-5, but no, that's not who the Ravens are when Lamar Jackson's in the lineup and they've won 2 straight and they still feel like they're in that AFC North race, and I'm sure they are. And you talk about a team that was 12-5 last year, beat Pittsburgh in the wild card round, and then lost a heartbreaker to Buffalo in Buffalo when we remember Mark Andrews dropped that 2-point conversion at the end of that game, Robbie.
Yes, absolutely. And to your point, the Ravens are a 4.5-point favorite in Vegas in Minnesota. So Vikings underdog for the 3rd week in a row. if you go back to the Eagle game.
Yeah, that is, it's a little surprising to me with the game being here, but that just shows the respect that Vegas and other odds makers have for the Ravens and the talent on that football team, and the challenge that they are going to bring this Sunday at noon at US Bank Stadium. Here's Kevin O'Connell talking about facing Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
He's just such a weapon now on schedule. When he's clean in the pocket, he's throwing in rhythm. They've got really, whether it's receivers with Zay in that group or it's the tight ends with Andrews in that group. They've got different running backs, and whether it's the screen game or free release out of the backfield with Hill and Henry. You just have to know that, it's going to be just playing the initial snap is going to be hard enough. The scheme that they run, and it's very well coached and they're very physical. Playing the snap itself is the starting point. Then the next play starts when things do go off schedule. And we've played against some guys this year who have hurt us, whether it's internally getting up and out of the pocket where, you got to look at the tape and say, was our rush plan as disciplined as it needs to be versus a quarterback that can hurt you? And if you're going to turn the rush loose, do you have to have somebody accounting for that quarterback when they move? But to me, it's about disruption, and it's about getting him off the spot. And then it's the player that gets him off the spot is more than likely not going to be able to always make the play. So who's the next guy there? And was there discipline in making sure you corral and keep him in the area that you have to, because he can change a game. Even if you've done it for 70 plays and you're in the fourth quarter, he can do it in a gotta-have-it moment and win the football game. So it's going to be a challenge. That's what makes the Ravens so difficult. I mean, we talked about their defensive skill players. We didn't even talk about, the fact they've got really good linebackers, a huge, big, heavy defensive front, really good edges. And offensively, they've got a physical O-line, one of the best backs in football, and a bunch of skill players to go along with the physicality that they could be explosive in a heartbeat. So all led by Lamar. So it's going to be it's a big-time challenge for sure.
Yeah, I think he's definitely right about that. And some of the things the Vikings can do in this game, run the ball. We'll see if Aaron Jones is able to play, as we said, with that shoulder that has kept him out of practice at least one day this week. They need him in the running game. Baltimore ranks 21st against the run, but has been better lately. Protection for J.J. McCarthy will be important. Baltimore only has 11 sacks this season, but they made a trade at the trade deadline for Draymond Jones from Tennessee, who had 4.5 sacks in his last 4 games with the Titans. So that could improve their pass rush, which has been a problem for them. They've given up a lot of yards in the air in some of their losses. And you look back at what's happened to this team this year and who they've played and who they've lost to. And it's kind of why we say, and it brings me back to a saying that Bud Grant had, Robbie. He said, it's not so much about who you play, but when you play them. And for the Ravens, that's really true this week because they were missing Roquan Smith for a while. They missed Kyle Hamilton for at least a game. Matabike, they had to adjust to his departure. Lamar Jackson missed time. Now they catch them when they're as healthy as they've been all year. The Vikings are as healthy as they've been too. If they can get Jones and some of the other players that were limited in practice this week, if they can get some guys back, maybe they'll sign a new corner. Asante Samuel was here for a visit. Probably won't happen before Sunday, but if they can bring him in, he would be an upgrade over Jeff Okudah, who may miss this game with a concussion. We'll see about that. But the Vikings really played just 2 corners most of the time last week in Murphy and Rodgers. And so there are a lot of factors in what happened to Baltimore this year. Look at their losses. At Buffalo in the opener, at Kansas City, against Detroit. Those are 3 top teams. And then those losses were with Lamar. Then when Lamar was out, they lost at Houston, and they lost one other game without Lamar. And so you're talking about a team that is really different when he's in there, but he still was beat 3 times this year. So maybe the Vikings will have an opportunity to do that. The Rams was the other team that beat them when Lamar was out. So we'll see how it plays out. But there are, as I said, a lot of factors in this game. And of course, one of the biggest factors is going to be the play of JJ McCarthy. I mentioned before, it needs to improve his accuracy. And JJ talked this week about facing that Ravens D and how they may play him.
That's a great question. I feel like that always comes down to game planning. What do they do well? What do we do well? And, how are they going to try and stop us? How are they going to try and re-engineer our rules to make it in their favor? But, I feel like there's a lot of things that I showed with my feet, just being able to extend plays on that crucial third down in the red zone. And I think, just the ability to progress on just like the little things outside of the pocket with my throws and making sure, we get those reps in, even though on the run it was like 1 for 7 based on last game. They know that I have that ability, so I just got to be ready when those opportunities come up. But yeah, there's a lot of things that go into this game plan that, I feel really good about. We just got to go out and execute it.
In the process of that progress, do throws.
JJ, get the ball to Justin Jefferson. He's had under 100 yards the last 3 games, and also to Jordan Addison, who he has a good connection with. We know that. Even going back to training camp, we saw it. But Jefferson's a game breaker in big games, and I think this could be a week that he could break through if they could pass protect and then go after that secondary, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think Justin could be a major factor in this game, as he is every week. We know that. And again, containing Lamar Jackson, Blake Cashman, coming off a great game. He and Eric Wilson, a linebacker, they're going to be key to containing Lamar. It's kind of spying on him and keeping him in the pocket, while if he tries to run up the middle, they gotta stop him. And Grenard and Van Ginkel on the outside have to contain him. Here is Blake Cashman talking about Lamar Jackson and having a healthy Van Ginkel and how much that means to the defense.
We're feeling good about the plan we have in place.
Does it help having played against Hurts a few weeks ago? Like, I know it's a different quarterback, but same types of things you need to be careful about.
Yeah, I feel like we've been playing a lot of all mobile quarterbacks for the most part this season. So we've had our work cut out, but it's just important that everybody, whether it's pass rushers or blitzers, that everybody's on the same plan, because, if you have one side of the pass rush or blitzers taking inside moves, you need somebody to cover to keep that contained. But, Lamar, he's got a unique and special skill set. He's going to make plays. He's going to make those hero plays, but it's about limiting those and causing duress.
Are things different when it's you and Van Ginkel and Grenard and everybody's out there healthy? I mean, that was a lot of the talk is this week was, hey, we saw what these guys can be when they have all the pieces on that defense.
Yeah, I think when we have Gink on the field, we're a better football team. I don't think he gets enough credit for how smart of a player he is, but there's a calmness when we got all our guys out there and we're healthy, and you can trust that everybody's going to be in the right spot as it pertains to your assignment on the play.
Limiting the penalties, another key this week. Vikings had 7 last week, again, for 56 yards. Fortunately for them, the Lions had 10 penalties, but some really critical penalties the Vikings had, including on the kickoff return called back. Vikings need to be more disciplined. It's been a problem all year. And in a game against a quality team such as Baltimore is, despite their record, they're a quality team. Believe that. And so that's going to be another key factor in the game. We're going to go to our sponsor here, and then we're going to come back and hear from Lamar Jackson. Robbie and I are going to make our pick, and we'll go around the NFL and some key games this week, including Philadelphia at Green Bay on Monday night. But here's our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
GMC trucks weren't built overnight. Like every American achievement, they are a result of dedication and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 Elevation Crew Cab models with a Turbo Max engine. That's an average finance savings of $49.49. Current eligible GMC owners combine it with $1,350 engine credit plus $1,750 bonus cash and $3,500 GMC loyalty cash to get over $11,500 in total value. That's 20% below MSRP. See your local GMC dealer today. Based on MSRP of $55,370. Must be a current owner of a 2011 model year or newer Buick or GMC vehicle, or a current lessee of a 2020 model year or newer Buick or GMC vehicle through GM Financial for at least 30 days prior to new vehicle sale. Length of contract limited. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on a bank rate of 5.22%. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/1/25.
Lamar Jackson, he's a cool customer, as we'll see in this interview. And he talked about the Ravens offense facing that Vikings defense on Sunday.
I feel like we still left plays out there on the field. It could have been better. I believe the defense or the Dolphins got us off the field like 3 times, so it could have been better, but I'm just happy we got the victory.
Lamar faced Brian Flores before. Once you have a you guys have to prepare for that?
Just prepare for anything, you know. We can't. That was like Wayland 2021, I believe. You know, we can't focus on that. We got to focus on everything, you know, because we don't know, they might play a zone game. You know, we just got to be prepared for everything.
Lamar, along those lines, you've been really good this year against the blitz. What does it take for you, you know, to have success against the blitz?
Just getting the ball out. Our line having great protection like they've been doing. Guys just getting open. That's all.
And as we mentioned earlier, Lamar Jackson, one of the top-rated quarterbacks against the blitz. So, but then again, Jared Goff was one of the top-rated quarterbacks against the blitz in the past, and the Vikings had success last week. But as I said, Jackson's a different guy compared to Goff in terms of mobility. And if they blitz, they better get home because otherwise it could be a big problem if he escapes. So we'll see how that plays out. It's going to be a huge factor in the game. I think, Robbie, it's going to be a really exciting game, fun game to watch. A lot of star players on both sides, both teams. I just have a hard time seeing the Vikings secondary containing Lamar Jackson for an entire game and preventing big plays down the field, as happened against Philadelphia and happened at the end of that Lions game. They've got to be more disciplined. They got to hold on to their coverages. It's going to be a big challenge, especially when they blitz and they're one-on-one for Murphy and Rodgers and whoever is the third corner in this situation. The safeties are going to have to tackle and make plays, and that's been a concern against the tight ends. So, to me, I think close game. But I'm going to pick the Ravens to win 27-23. I think McCarthy will have a good game, but Jackson will outshine him. How do you see it?
Well, the only Ravens-Vikings game I've ever attended was back in 2006. It was August. It was preseason. And it was the day that Michael Phelps broke the all-time record for Olympic gold medals. And he was from, yes, you guessed it, Baltimore. So they actually showed the Ravens Stadium on the Olympic broadcast on NBC, and we all held up placards that spelled out Phelps in the crowd like we were at some sort of soccer match, and they showed it on the screens. So I think it was the Olympics were in China, I believe, and they showed it on the screen, and Phelps broke the record, and the place went wild because the race went off. His race went off right after the preseason game. But as for this game this weekend, I think it's going to be nip and tuck back and forth. Both defenses have sprung leaks, although last week the Viking defense really played well against the run, and I think they're going to have to do that again to win. I'm going to say they eke this one out by a field goal. I'll go 30-27 Vikings with Reichard at the buzzer for the winner.
Hey, I hope you're right, Robbie. I think it's going to be a great game, exciting matchup. Going around the league, as I mentioned, the big Monday night game, Eagles at Green Bay. I like Philadelphia in this game. I just think the Packers are so erratic after losing to Carolina last week. They'll be fired up for this Monday night game. I just think the Eagles are a better team. They beat them in the playoffs last year. I think they'll do it again. Detroit's at Washington. No Jaden Daniels, so I'm picking the Lions in that game. Giants at Chicago. Giants are heading the wrong direction. And so I'm going to go with the Bears to get to 6-3 before they come here next week to face the Vikings in another pivotal game. It's like out of the furnace into the fire for the Vikings. They go from Philadelphia, Chargers, Detroit, Baltimore, and then next week a big division game against Chicago. Then they're at Green Bay and at Seattle, 2 challenging road games. So it's not going to be easy over this next stretch either, which, again, tells us why a win on Sunday would be really important. A couple other big games: New England at Tampa Bay. I like the Bucks. Pittsburgh at the Chargers, an important game. Rams at the 49ers. And so it'll be an exciting week, exciting game on Sunday at US Bank Stadium. And we'll be back on Monday to break it down, Vikings and Ravens. This has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers in the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. This is Jeff Diamond with Robbie Rosenhaus, and we will talk to you on Monday after Vikings Ravens.